Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter number 20. Lord's instructions to Sanātana Gosvāmī. We have been going through this chapter and we'll be beginning from verse number 252 today. Mukam Kroti Vachalam Pangum Langaite Girim Yat Kripatamam Vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Parmananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Ananta Shakti Madhya Krishnera Teen Shakti Pradhan Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti Nam. So Krishna has unlimited potencies, out of which three are chief: willpower, the power of knowledge, and the creative energy. So, like we always say that each and every shloka in Sri Caitanya Charitamrita is like a jewel. That's why it's called the PhD of the Shastras. So this verse number 20.252 from the Madhya Lila, tells us the three main potencies of the Lord, namely willpower, power of knowledge, and creative energy. So moving on to next verse number 253. Ichha Shakti Pradhan Krishna Ichhaya Sarvakarta Jnana Shakti Pradhan Vasudeva Adhisthata. The predominator of the willing potency is Lord Krishna, for by his supreme will everything comes into existence. In willing there is a need for knowledge, and that knowledge is expressed through Vasudeva. Verse number 254. Ichha Jnana Kriya Vina Na Haya Srajana Tinera Tina Shakti Meli Prapancha Rachana. There is no possibility of creation without thinking, feeling, willing, knowledge, and activity. So this is another verse, another thing which is quoted widely, in the lectures when we hear from the distinguished speakers, the Shiksha Gurus and Diksha Gurus. They speak of thinking, feeling, willing, knowledge, and activity. So there is no possibility of creation without thinking, feeling, willing, knowledge, and activity. The combination of the supreme will, knowledge, and action brings about the cosmic manifestation. Verse number 255. Kriya Shakti Pradhan Sankarshan Balaram Prakrit Srishti Karen Nirman. Lord Sankarshan is Lord Balaram. Being the predominator of the creative energy, he creates both the material and the spiritual world. Let's move on to next verse 256. Ahankarera Adhisthata Krishnera Ichhaya Golok Vaikuntha Shrije Chit Shakti Dwaraya. That original Sankarshan Lord Balaram is the cause of both the material and the spiritual creation. He is the predominating deity of egotism, and by the will of Krishna and power of the spiritual energy, he creates the spiritual world, which consists of the planet Golok, Vrindavan, and Vaikuntha planets. Verse 257. Yadyapi Asrijya Nitya Chit Shakti Vilasa Tathapi Sankarshan Ichhaya Tahar Prakash. Although there is no question of creation as far as the spiritual world is concerned, the spiritual knowledge is nonetheless manifested by the supreme will of Sankarshan. The spiritual world is the abode of the pastimes of the eternal spiritual energy. Verse 258, Sahasra Patram Kamalam Gokulakyam Mahatpadam Tat Karni Karam Tad Dhama Tad Anantamsha Sambhavam. Gokul, the supreme abode and planet, appears like a lotus flower that has 1,000 petals. The whole of that lotus is the abode of the Supreme Lord Krishna. The lotus-shaped supreme abode is created by the will of Lord Ananta. This verse is quoted from the Brahma Samhita 5.2, verse 259. Maya dvare srije tenhu brahmandera gana jada rupa prakriti nahe brahmanda karana. By the agency of the material energy, this same Lord Sankarshan creates all the universes. The dull material energy known in modern language as nature is not the cause of the material universe. So, it's explained clearly about the creations of the universes by Lord Sankarshan, which is not actually done by the dull matter as we know in the modern language as nature. Verse 260, Jada haite srishti nahe ishvara shakti vine tahate sankarshan kare shaktir adhane. Without the Supreme Personality of Godhead's energy, dull matter cannot create the cosmic manifestation. Its power does not rise from the material energy itself, but is endowed by Sankarshan. Verse 261, Ishvarera Shakte Srishti Karaye Prakriti Loha Yena Agni Shakte Paye Daha Shakti. Dull matter alone cannot create anything. The material energy produces the creation by the power of the spiritual personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Iron itself has no power to burn, but when iron is placed in fire, it is empowered to burn. So, such an important translation here, that the dull matter alone cannot create anything. The material energy produces the creation by the power of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. Verse 262, Eto hi vishwasya cha bija yoni ramo mukundah purushah pradhanam anviya bhuteshu vilakshanasya jnanasya cheshta imo purano. Cha ishate, not cheshta, cha ishate imo purano. Balaram and Krishna are the original, efficient and material causes of the material world. As Mahavishnu and the material energy, they enter into the material elements and create the diversities by multi-energies. So Balaram is the material energy and Krishna, Balaram and Krishna are the original, efficient and material causes of the material world. As Mahavishnu and material energy, they enter into the material elements and create the diversities by multi-energies, and they are the cause of all causes. This verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.46.31, verse number 263. Srishti hetu ye murti prapanche avatare se Ishwar murti avatar namadhare. The form of the Lord that descends into the material world to create is called an avatar or incarnation. So it's so clearly told us, we have been told here in this verse, the form of the Lord that descends into the material world to create is called avatar or incarnation. Verse 264. Mayaitita paravyome sabar avasthana vishve avatari dhare avataranam. All the expansions of Lord Krishna are actually residents of the spiritual world, but when they descend into the material world, they are called the incarnations or the avatar. Verse 265, Se Maya Avalokite Shri Sankarshan Purusha Rupe Avatirna Haila Prathama. To glance over the material energy and empower her, Lord Sankarshan first incarnates as Lord Mahavishnu. So this verse tells us clearly that Lord Sankarshan incarnates as Mahavishnu to glance over the material energy and to empower her. Verse 266, Jagrihe Paurusham Rupam Bhagwan Mahad Adibhi Sambhutam Shodasha Kalam Adav Lok Sishrika Kshaya. In the beginning of the creation, the Lord expanded himself in the form of the Purush incarnation, accompanied by the ingredients of material creation. First, he created the 16 principal energies suitable for creation. This was for the purpose of manifesting the material universes. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 3rd chapter, 1st verse. For an explanation, refer to Adi Lila, chapter 5, verse 84. Verse 267, Adyo Avataraha Purushaha Parasya Kalaha Swabhavaha Sad Asan Manascha Dravyam Vikaro Guna Indriyani Virat Swarat Sthanasu Charishnu Bhumnaha. Karanadakshai Vishnu or the Mahavishnu is the first incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and he is the master of eternal time, space, cause and effects, the mind, the elements, the material ego, the modes of nature, the senses, the universal forms of the Lord, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and the sum total of all the living beings, both moving and non-moving. Purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.6.42. For an explanation, refer to Adi Lila, chapter 5, verse 83. Verse 268, Se Purusha Virajate Karena Shayana Karana Dakshai Nama Jagat Karana. The original personality of Godhead named Sankarshan first lies down in the river Viraja, which serves as a border between material and spiritual world. As Karana Dakshai Vishnu, he is the original cause of the material creation. Verse 269, Karanat bhi pare mayar nitya avasthiti virajar pare paravyome nahi gati. The Viraja or the causal ocean is the border between the spiritual and the material world. The material energy is situated on one shore of that ocean and it cannot enter into the other shore, which is the spiritual sky. Verse 270, Pravartate yatra rajastamastayo satvam cha mishram na cha kala vikramaha na yatra maya kim utapare harer anuvrata yatra surarchitaha. In the spiritual world, there is neither the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, nor a mixture of both, nor there is adulterated goodness, the influence of time or Maya herself. Only the pure devotees of the Lord, who are worshipped both by demigods and by the demons, reside in the spiritual world as Lord's associates. Purport. This verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.10. It was spoken by Srila Shukadeva Gosvāmī. He was answering the questions of Parikshit Maharaj, who asked how the living entity falls down into the material world. Shukadeva Gosvāmī explained the cream of Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses, which has been explained to Brahma at the end of the severe austerities he performed for 1000 celestial years. At that time, Brahma was known as the spirit was shown the spiritual world and the transcendental nature. Moving on to the next verses. Verse 271. Maya ye dui vritti maya arya pradhan maya nimitta hetu vishvera upadan pradhan. Upadan is the ingredients. Maya has two functions. One is called Maya and the other is called Pradhan. Maya refers to the efficient cause and Pradhan refers to the ingredients that create the cosmic manifestation. Purport for a further explanation, see Adi Lila, chapter 5, verse 58, verse 272. So let me check. Did I read the verse 270? Yes, it was 271 we just read. Now moving on to verse 272. Sai Purusha Maya Pane Kare Avadhan Prakriti Kshobhita Kari Kare Viryera Adhan. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead glances over the material energy, she becomes agitated. At that time, the Lord injects the original semen of the living entities. Purport in the Bhagavad-Gita 7.10, Krishna says, Bijam Mam Sarva Bhutanam, I am the original seed of all existences. This is also confirmed in another verse in Bhagavad-Gita 14.4, Sarva Yonishu Kaunteya Murtayaha Sambhavanti Yaha Tasam Brahma Mahad Yonir Aham Bija Pradhapita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. For a further explanation, one may refer to the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verses 10 to 13. The Brahma Samhita also states in 5.51, Agnir Mahi Gaganam Ambu Marud Dishascha Kalas Tathatma Manasiti Jagat Rayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yamcha Govindamadi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. All material elements as well as the spiritual sparks, individual souls are emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed by the Vedanta Sutra 1.1. Janmadi Asya Yatah, the absolute truth is He from whom everything emanates. He is the Supreme Truth, Satyam Param Dhimahi, Bhagavatam 1.1.1. The absolute ultimate truth is Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadi Asya Yato Anvayad Itaratash Chartheshva Abhijanah Swarat. The absolute truth is a person who is directly and indirectly cognizant of the entire cosmic manifestation. This is from Bhagavatam 1.1.1. The absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, educated Lord Brahma from the heart. This is in Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Tene Brahma Vridaya Adi Kavayed. Therefore, the absolute truth cannot be dull matter. The absolute truth must be the Supreme Person Himself. Sai Purusha Maya Pane Kare Avadhan. Simply by his glance, material energy is impregnated with all living entities according to their karma and fruitive activity. They emerge in different bodies. This is the explanation given by Bhagavad-Gita 2.13. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam chara tatha dehantara prapti dhiras tatrana muhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Verse number 273. Swanga Visheshabhas Rupe Prakriti Sparshana Jiva Rupa Bija Tate Kaila Samarpana. To impregnate with the seeds of living entities, the Lord Himself does not directly touch the material energy, but by specific functional expansion, It touches this material energy, and thus the living entities who are its parts and parcels are impregnated into the material energy purport. According to Lord Krishna in Bhagavad-Gita 15.7, Mamaivansho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanātana Manas Ashtani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Karshati. The living entities in the conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to the conditional life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. In the present verse of the Caitanya Charitamrita, the word Prakriti Sparshan refers to the Lord's glancing over material energy and the placing the living entities in contact with the dull matter. The glancing is performed by Mahavishnu. Sa ekshata lokan nusrija iti. This is from Aitareya Upanishad 1.1.1. In the conditioned stage, we impregnate according to bodily consumption, but that is by the sexual activity, but the Supreme Lord does not need that to impregnate. The impregnation is performed simply by his glance. This is explained in this Brahma Samhita 5.32. Angani yasya saklendriya vritimanti pashyanti panti kalyanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrasya Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. Govinda can impregnate simply by glancing. In other words, his eyes can work as his genitals. He does not need genitals to beget a child. Indeed, Krishna can beget any one of the following living entities with any part of his body. The word Swanga Vishesha Bhasa Rupe, indicating the form by which the Lord begets living entities in the material world, is explained herein. He is Lord Shiva. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Lord Shiva, who is another form of Mahavishnu, is like yogurt. Yogurt is nothing but milk, yet it is not milk. Similarly, Lord Shiva is considered the father of the universe, and material nature is considered the mother. The father and mother are known as Lord Shiva and Goddess Durga. To Lord Shiva's genitals and Mother Durga's vagina are worshipped as Shivalinga. This is the origin of the material creation. Thus, Lord Shiva's position is between that of the living entity and that of Supreme Lord. In other words, Lord Shiva is neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead nor a living entity. He is the form through which the Supreme Lord works to beget living entities within this material world. As yogurt is prepared when milk is mixed with the culture, and the form of Lord Shiva expands when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in touch with the material nature. The impregnation of the material nature by the Father Lord Shiva is wonderful because at one time innumerable living entities are conceived. Bhago Jiva Sa Vigyaneha Sa Chantyaya Kalpate. This is from Shvetashvat Avatar Upanishad 5.9. These living entities are very, very small. Keshagra Shata Bhagasya Shatamsha Sadrish Shatmakaha Jiva Sukshma Swarupo Yam Ayam Sankhyatito Hi Chittakanaha. If we divide the tip of the hair into 100 parts and then take one part of these parts and divide it again into 100 parts, that very fine division is the size of but one of the numberless living entities. They are all Chit-Karna, particles of spirit, not matter. The innumerable Brahmands or universes come from the pores of the Lord's body, and the innumerable living entities also come from the pores of the transcendental body of the Lord. This is the process of material creation. Without the living entities, this material nature has no value. Both emanate from the pores of transcendental body of the Lord Mahavishnu. There are different energies. The material energy is explained as following by Lord Krishna, the Bhagavad-Gita 7.4. Bhumi Rapo Anilo Vayu Kam Mano Buddhir Evacha Ahankar Itiyam Me Bhinna Prakriti Ashtadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, all together these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Thus the material energy also comes from the body of Supreme Personality of Godhead, But they are different type of energy from the living entities. Although living entities also come from the Lord's body, they are categorized as superior energy. Aparayam itastva anyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayetam dharyate jagat. Besides this inferior energy, O mighty armed Arjun, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior energy. Bhagavad-Gita 7.5. The inferior energy matter cannot act without the superior energy. All these things are very clearly explained in the Vedas. The materialistic theory that the life develops from the matter is incorrect. Life and matter come from the supreme personality of supreme living entity, therefore being the source of both. That supreme living entity, Krishna, is described in the Vedanta Sutra as Janmadi Asya Yataha 1.1, or the original source of everything. Sarva Karana Karanam. This is further explained in the following verse. Verse 274. Devat Kshubhita Dharminyam Swasyam Yonau Paraha Puman Adat Viryam Sasuta Mahatattvam Hiranmayam. At a time beyond memory, after agitating the material energy into three qualities, the Supreme Personality of God had placed the semen of innumerable living entities within the womb of the material energy. This material nature gave birth to the total material energy known as Hiranmaya Mahatattva, the original symbolic representation of the cosmic manifestation. Purport: this is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.26.19. Lord Kapil is explaining to his mother the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and material nature. He is informing her how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of the living entities who are conditioned by the material nature. Over and above 28 elements of the material creation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. Life comes not from the matter but from life itself, as explained in the Vedas. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. This is from Kathopanishad 2.2.13. The Supreme Lord is the original source of life. Verse 275. Kala Vritya Tu Mayayam Gunam Mayam Adhokshaja Purushena Atma Bhutena Viryam Adhata Viryavan. In the due course of time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavaikuntanath, by the energy of an expansion of his personal self, Mahavishnu, placed the seed of the living entities within the womb of material nature. Purport: this is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.5.26. This verse tells us how the living entities come in contact with the material nature. Just as woman cannot beget children without uniting with a man, material nature cannot beget living entities without being in union with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a history of how this absolute Lord becomes the Father of all living entities. In every system of religion, it is accepted that God is the Supreme Father of all living entities. According to Christianity, the Supreme Father God provides the living entities with all of life's necessities. Therefore, they pray, give us this day our daily bread. Any religion that does not accept Supreme Lord as the Absolute Father is called Kaitav Dharma or the cheating religion. Such religious systems are rejected in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2. Dharmaha Projita Katavu Atra. Only an atheist does not accept the omnipotent Supreme Father. If one accepts the omnipotent Supreme Father, he abides by his orders and becomes a religious person. Verse 276. Tabye mahat tattva haite trividha ankar yaha haite devatendriya bhutera prachar. First, the total material energy is manifested, and from this arise the three types of egotism, which are the original source from which all demigod controlling deity senses and material elements expand. Purport: Maestro Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge Prabhupada earlier. Still trying to recover from this cold and flu-like symptoms. Please pray for me. The three types of egotism, the ahankar, are technically known as Vaikarika, Taijasa, Tamasa. The Mahatattva is situated within the heart of Chitta or Chitta, and the predominating deity of the Mahatattva is Lord Vasudeva. Bhagavatam 3.26.21. The Mahatattva is transformed into three divisions: Vaikarika, egotism in goodness; Sattvika Ahankar, from which is manifested the 11th sense organ, the mind, whose predominating deity is Aniruddha. Bhagavatam 3.26.27 to 28. Tejas or egotism in passion, Rajasa Ahankar, from which are manifested the active and knowledge acquiring senses, along with the intelligence whose predominating deity is Pradyumna. Bhagavatam 3.26.29 to 31. And lastly, Tamas or egotism in ignorance, from which sound, vibration, Shabda, Tanmatra expands from sound vibrations. The sky, Akash, is manifested, and then the senses, beginning with the sense of hearing, are also manifested. Bhagavatam 3.26.32. Of these three types of egotism, Lord Sankarsha is the predominating deity. In the philosophical discourse known as the Sankhya Karika, it is stated Sattvika ekadashkaha pravartate vaikritad ahankarat bhutades tanmatram tamas taijasadi ubhayam. Verse 277. Sarvatattva miri srijila brahmandera gana ananta brahmanda tara nahika ganana. Combining all the different elements, the Supreme Lord created all the universes. Those universes are unlimited in numbers. There is no possibility of counting them. Verse 278. Inho mahat srishta purusha mahavishnu nama ananta brahmande tandra loma kape dhama kupe dham. The first form of Lord Vishnu is called the Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu, it is the original creator of the total material energy. Innumerable universes emerged from the pores of his body. Verses 279 and 280. Gavakshe Uriya Yaiche Renu Ase Yaya Purusha Nishwas Sah Brahmanda Bahiraya Punarapi Nishwas Sah Yaya Vayantara Ananta Aishwarya Tinha Dana Tandra Sabamaya Para. Beyond the material conception, these universes are understood to be floating in the air that Mahavishnu exhales. There are atomic particles that float, enable. Right. They are like atomic particles that they afloat in sunshine and pass through the holes of the. They are like the atomic particles that float in the sunshine and pass through the holes of a screen. All these universes are created by exhalation of Mahavishnu, and when Mahavishnu inhales, if they re-enter his body, the unlimited opulence of Mahavishnu are completely beyond material conception. Verse 281. Yasyaika nishvasita kalam athavalambya Jivanti loma vilaja jagat andanathaha Vishnur mahan sa iha yasya kalavishesha Govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. The Brahmas and the lords of the mundane world appear from the pores of Mahavishnu and remain alive for the duration of his one exhalation. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom Mahavishnu is the portion of a plenary portion. Purport: this is the quotation from Brahma Samhita 5.48. For an explanation, refer to Adi Lila chapter 5, verse 71. Verse 282. Samasta Brahmanda Ganera Inho Antaryami Karana Karanad Bhi Sashai Sabha Jagadera Swami. Mahavishnu is the supreme, is the super soul of all universes, lying in the causal universe. He is the master of all. He is the master of all material worlds. Verse 283. Eta kahilun prathama purushera tattva dvitiya purushera ebeshunaha mahatva. I've thus explained the truth of the first personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu. I shall now explain the glories of the second personality of Godhead. Verse 284. Se Purusha Ananta Koti Brahma Srijya Ekaika Murte Praveshita Bahumurti. Verse 284. Sai Purusha Ananta Koti Brahmand Srijya Ekaika Murte Praveshila Bahumurti Hena. After creating the total number of universes which are unlimited, Mahavishnu expanded himself into unlimited forms and entered into each of them. Verse 285. Pravesha Kariya Dekhe Sab Andhakar Rahite Nahika Sthan Karela Vichar. When Mahavishnu entered each of the limitless universes, he saw that there was darkness all around and there was no place to stay. He therefore began to consider the situation. Verse 286. Nijanga Swede Jale Brahmanda Nardha Varila Sei Jale Shesha Shayaya Shayana Karila. With the perspiration produced from his own body, the Lord filled with the half of the universe with water. He then lay down and on that water on the bed of Lord Shesh. So ocean is just the perspiration of Lord. Oceans rather, I should say. Verse 287. Tandra Nabhi Padma Haite Utila Ek Padma Se Padme Haila Brahmara Janma Sadma. So Janma Sadma means the place of generations, like we sing in the morning Aarti for Prabhupada, Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sadma. A lotus flower then sprouted from the lotus navel of that Garbhodakshai Vishnu. That lotus flower became Lord Brahma's birthplace. Verse 288. Sei Padma Nale Haila Choda Bhuvana Tenho Brahma Hena Srishti Karila Srijana. In the stem of that lotus flower, the 14 worlds were generated. Then he became Lord Brahma and manifested the entire universe. Verse 289. Vishnu Rupa Hena Kare Jagat Palane Gunatit Vishnu Sparsha Nahi Maya Sane. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his form of Vishnu, maintains the entire material world. Since he is always beyond the material qualities, the material nature cannot touch him. Purport: the influence of the material energy cannot touch Lord Vishnu as he touches Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Therefore, it is said that Lord Vishnu is transcendental to the material qualities. The incarnations of the material qualities, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, are under the jurisdiction of the external energy. The Lord Vishnu, however, is different. In the mantras of the Rig Veda, it is said, Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam, Rig Veda Samhita 1.22.20. The words Paramam Padam indicates that he is the transcendental to the material qualities. Because Lord Vishnu is not within the jurisdiction of the material qualities, he is always superior to the living entities who are controlled by the material energy. This is one of the differences between the Supreme Lord and the living entities. Lord Brahma is very powerful living entity, and Lord Shiva is even more powerful. Therefore, Lord Shiva is not accepted as a living entity, but at the same time, he is not considered to be on the level of Lord Vishnu. Verse 290. Rudra Roop Dhari Kare Jagat Samhara Srishti Sthiti Pralay Haya Ichhaya Yanhar. The Supreme Lord in his form of Rudra, Lord Shiva, brings about the dissolution of the material creation. In other words, only by his will there are creation, maintenance and dissolution of the whole cosmic manifestation. We will continue reading from verse 291 of the 20th chapter of the Madhya Lila of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita next time. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Krishna's Kaviraj Gosvāmī ki Jai.